Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in this evening. You know, at a time when India and Pakistan are refusing to talk to each other, it's actually wonderful to have this evening here where a galaxy of leaders are present, all of whom have played a critical role at various junctures in the history of the subcontinent. And unfortunately, many times that history has been very turbulent and very, very sad. Mr. Khurshid Kasuri, as you know, has been Foreign Minister of Pakistan from 2002 to 2007 and played a very key role at that time in trying to bridge ties between the two countries. That was a period in which India and Pakistan seem to have come tantalizingly close to a resolution of Jammu and Kashmir. And in his book, Mr. Kasuri has explained in detail the kind of track to diplomacy that took place, of course, behind the scenes in order to make that happen. The book certainly makes excellent reading, and it's not just about India-Pakistan relations. In fact, Mr. Kasuri clearly has a lot to say, which is why it is only 851 pages long. And as light as a feather, as you can see. It is also wonderful to have with us tonight a distinguished Indian who attempted to make peace with Pakistan in the 10 years that he was Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh. It is wonderful to have you here tonight. And on the other side of the political spectrum, it's an honor to have Mr. L.K. Advani, India's former Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister. And let me begin tonight by introducing the rest of our panel. Dr. Farooq Abdullah, former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Yashwant Sinha, former Foreign Minister. Always outspoken. In fact, he recently described the NSA level talks between India and Pakistan as a dialogue of the deaf. So we hope that he will be doing some more plain speaking this evening. Mr. Mani Shankar Iyer calls himself an aspiring Foreign Minister of India. And of course needs no introduction as someone who's a strong proponent of peace between the two countries. And Mr. Abdul Basit, the High Commissioner to Pakistan, joins us tonight. Mr. Basit has had a very exciting and newsy tenure in the time that he has been here in New Delhi. I would like to begin then by inviting the author himself, Mr. Khurshid Kasuri, to make his opening remarks. Mr. Kasuri.
Thank you. Jammu and Kashmir is an outstanding problem. Some of you may not like what I say, but let us not shut our eyes. Jammu and Kashmir remains an issue, but the good news in my book is that it is resolvable. Despite all the problems and contradictions, India's position is very well stated. India says there will be no change in borders. Pakistani position is equally well stated. We will never accept the status quo. I also made an attempt when I was Foreign Minister, and I'll tell you why I used to meet the Hurriyat leaders. I don't want to hide it. I made a serious attempt to try and understand what they really wanted. I met them in India, I met them in Pakistan, I met them in third countries as well. Not to create mischief. And this is, I remember our High Commissioner got into a lot of trouble for meeting the Hurriyat leaders. But why was I meeting them? I'll tell you very bluntly. I knew that regardless of what Dr. Manmohan Singh or President Musharraf will do, if, I'm not talking of India, I'm talking of Pakistan, if the people in the valley, if the Hurriyat conference completely rejected what we were doing, the people of Pakistan will reject it. So that is the reason why we needed to meet with them. That is the reason why we needed to interact with them. Did I succeed with everybody? No. It's my regret that to the last day I made an effort, Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani, I could not convince him. Once I had a 3-hour long meeting with him. But I'm a born optimist. I don't give up. If our government had not fallen, if we had been given another opportunity, I might have succeeded in convincing him that in the first instance, see what good it will do to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So Kashmir can be resolved. That's the good news. The bad news is we have differences. But here creativity comes in. With these opposite antagonistic perspectives, that is why I think the one chapter that I've written on the framework that we have envisaged, there can be any changes of government. And Dr. Saab probably thinks he may not get credit, and Musharraf thinks he may not get it. And politicians will never give you credit, sir. But history will give you credit. Politicians have their own axe to grind, both in Pakistan and India. In Pakistan, I can speak with confidence. A lot of people, I used to even go before the National Assembly in the parliamentary select committees on foreign affairs, and when I used to sit, everybody used to say, yes, it's good. But when they'd come out, and particularly now that Musharraf is not in power, they say, oh, this is complete sellout. It can never be implemented. I will come to Natwar Singh. I am grateful to him for one thing. I wish he were here, but I wish to pay him compliment in his absence. He told me bluntly that the government of India under Dr. Manmohan Singh was not ready to accept Hurriyat at the table. And he said, we can't convince our people that the Hurriyat should be sitting at the table. And I tried my best that they do sit. Ultimately, I think even earlier, Prime Minister Vajpayee, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me, sir, and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh did have some sort of an engagement with Kashmiri leaders. The point is very simple, that they made that attempt, and that also underscores what I was trying to say. Most important point, I was told all the time, Kasuri Sahab, you can try what you will, Pakistan Army will never allow peace between these two countries. I thought it therefore necessary, because I am not a defense expert. I am not, I've not studied, I have not gone to university on defense studies. But my university is 5 years of experience. And that's not a small, I could get a PhD on 5 years. So I'm not an expert on military affairs or defense affairs. When I was sitting in that room, I want to state plainly, ISI was sitting on that table. The military was sitting on that table. The military was represented by the 4-star General General S.N. Salim Hayat, because President Musharraf refused to represent the army. He said, I'm in no position, because I am head of state, I will not represent Pakistan Army. Pakistan Army was represented by General S.N. Salim Hayat. The ISI was represented by DG ISI then, and we could not have achieved what we did had they not been sitting. I don't know who Dr. Manmohan Singh was consulting on this side. But surely he must have been consulting, apart from Defense Committee, security officials. Now, therefore, we have also found out the bottom lines of the two establishments. So when they say, oh, Musharraf left and the army changed its mind, no. There are WikiLeaks which support me, that 2 years after he left, the American ambassador, Ann Patterson, met General Kiani and Shuja Pasha and asked them that this is what the former foreign minister says was worked out. Do you support it? They said yes. I had also supported former Foreign Secretary Riaz Muhammad Khan, the back channel negotiate. And they supported what I said. I'll rush to the good news at the end, because there's a lot of bad news in the center, but I'm an optimistic person, so I rush to the good news. The good news is it only required 3 years of positive impetus. And in 2007, there was a cricket match in Lahore. Cricket matches are substitutes for battlefields between India and Pakistan. No secret what happened in Cuttack, and that was not India-Pakistan match. India-Pakistan match arouses much greater passion. India won, Pakistan lost. Some of my Indian friends said, we are not leaving the stadium because we might be brick-batted. And they were amazed. Young boys, after 2 minutes, were running across the Lahore cricket field carrying Indian and Pakistani flags. So if you have positive impetus, you can change people's mind.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kasuri. Just a couple of questions for you, Mr. Kasuri, because much of the discourse here in India has centered around the Hurriyat leadership, especially in the way the talks were called off last year and what happened with the NSAs recently. And you mentioned how you met separatist leaders in other countries as well. But I ask you that why didn't the Pakistani leadership ever think of meeting the elected representatives of Jammu and Kashmir, like Dr. Farooq Abdullah, who's sitting next to you, or the PDP leadership? After all, they've at least contested elections.
I will answer you. Everything comes in time. We have fought 5 wars, if you include Kargil and Run of Kutch, and 4 near-war situations that I describe in my book. It's been all over Kashmir. And I describe why Kashmir is important for Pakistan. But I have in my book also talked of Sheikh Abdullah. I have talked of Article 370, the agreement between Pandit Nehru and Sheikh Abdullah. So I have not been blind, and I have not ignored certain historic realities. I also know I read statements in your media, oh, the only thing to talk is, you know, POK, give us that. I said to people, we have it, you can't take it, period. And what you have, we can't take. We've tried and we have failed. Since everybody has failed, are you going to try in the definition of Einstein, are we mad? Same efforts will produce similar results. You have to do something new. We did something creative, Dr. Saab, and thank you very much for allowing me to be member of that team on the Pakistani side, which you so ably led on the Indian side, and which President Musharraf led on the Pakistani side.
As you say, you know, that both countries came so close to a possible resolution. The contours are very clearly defined in your book on demilitarization, a joint mechanism, and so on. Why do you think that is being disowned by Pakistan today? Hasn't the position within Pakistan hardened against India?
What happens in India? Politicians will be politicians.
They'll
sit in the room and they'll say it's a damn good thing, there's nothing else that can work. When they come out, they'll say something else. Now what I'm saying to you is, yes, you can't expect Dr. Manmohan Singh to be given credit by the opposition here, nor will President Musharraf, for even more reasons, be given credit. But history will give credit. So somebody wise said to me, history is written by victors. I said, history may be written by victors, that may be old times. In the days of Google, in the days of current media, where truth comes out, the two countries have no option. You cannot reinvent the wheel. I have tried hard. Something which
but why has it unraveled like this? To a point, you don't think the positions within the Pakistani military have hardened against India?
Yes, they have hardened.
Why?
I'll tell you. You have one hard statement from your side, there will be a harder statement from that side. So the only thing is to control negative rhetoric. We know we belong to the same area. You live in a mohalla. Somebody curses you. The other person's manliness is challenged. He curses you even harder. Is that the way to go about things? This is not how diplomacy is conducted. So look, I challenge you. Go home and look at the dates on which various statements were issued. Who issued the first statement?
So
go home, do it. They were not issued by Pakistan.
So they're all reactions.
They are reactions. And Pakistan Army is reacting. If there's hardening on the Indian side, Pakistan Army will issue a harder statement in the end.
You know, Indian leaders may say here is not stopping the Pakistani establishment from, say, preventing an Hafiz Saeed from roaming free in Lahore and Islamabad, from making speeches, anti-India speeches, from the 26/11 trial falling apart the way that it has. Yes. For India, I'm sure you would acknowledge that these are genuine central concerns. Although in your book you seem to suggest that India is kind of obsessed with the terror
disaster issue. And when that attack took place, I thought it was an attempt to undo whatever we were doing, because I was not luckily foreign minister. I was not foreign minister. But I can tell you one thing, that when I visited here, there was Samjhota. When my successor visited, there was Mumbai. When President Clinton visited, there was Chhatti Singhpura. When somebody else visits, there will be more bomb blasts in Pakistan or India. It means there are powerful forces who do not wish us to normalize. So what is the answer? The joint statement that President Musharraf and Dr. Manmohan Singh agreed on, irreversibility of the peace process. You cannot give this danda, this ultimate power, this veto to those who will never allow peace between our countries.
Well, let me ask former Foreign Minister Mr. Yashwant Sinha to speak next. And Mr. Sinha, I just want to sort of take off from a comment that Mr. Kasuri made, that India cannot ignore Pakistan. That India cannot afford to say that we will not talk to Pakistan and this is a neighbor that you can just wake up and expect things to be normal. I thought I would begin by asking you about that before you move on to your remarks.
Well, I'll, Nidhi certainly reply to your question, but let me remind the audience here that I hold a completely contrarian view, and I have given vent to my views in newspaper articles which I have written. And what are my credentials to speak on this subject? I don't have 5 years experience that Khurshid Kasuri has in the Foreign Office. Neither do I have the experience that Mani has as a former diplomat who has served in Pakistan. I have only 2 years experience in the Foreign Office, and 5-year experience, as Khurshid will recall, as a member of Parliament of India who visited Pakistan along with Mani Shankar Aiyar to speak to our counterparts in Pakistan. When I said that it will be a dialogue of the deaf, when the recent talks were slated to happen, I was basing my views on the experience that I have had in these 7 years. I admire his optimism. I wish I could share it, but I certainly admire the optimism that he has displayed in the book and has given vent to right here. I wish also that I agreed with my friend Mani Shankar Aiyar, who holds the view very strongly and has consistently held that view, that dialogue between India and Pakistan must be uninterrupted and uninterruptible. And I think this is what they teach at Cambridge, where both of you went. That dialogue should be uninterrupted and uninterruptible. Unfortunately, I don't hold that view. And whether it should be a policy of benign neglect on our part or some other policy, I'll come to. But let me begin by saying that most of us make the mistake of thinking that history is beginning with me. History has not begun. History of India-Pakistan relationship has not begun yesterday. It did not begin when Mr. Kasuri became the Foreign Minister of India or I became the Foreign Minister of India. It has a long history, even going before the partition of the subcontinent.
I have referred to all that.
Yes. And therefore, if we begin with this humble thought that the people of our respective countries have given us an opportunity to take that process forward, then I think we'll be doing far better than we have done in the last 70 years. What is the objective that all of us cherish? The objective is that there should be peace and friendship between India and Pakistan. That is the objective that he has. That is the objective that I have also. How will that objective be achieved? One school of thought is through continuous dialogue that Mani or Khurshid Kasuri would like us to believe. Through continuous dialogue. And what will come out of it, I don't know. Because history of the last 70 years is replete with failure of all those talks. I am very happy that Khurshid Kasuri has mentioned in his book that we were very close to resolution. We have Dr. Manmohan Singh here, but I am told that he has chosen not to speak. As far as the Indian side is concerned, there is no authentic or authoritative statement of what the back channels were about to achieve. And therefore, whether we were close to resolution or very far away from it is something where we have only Mr. Kasuri's word to go by. But I'd like to make one point here very clearly, and my leader, Mr. Advani, is sitting here, and I'm daring to say it in his presence, that the joint control of Jammu and Kashmir that you have talked about, Khurshid, in your book as one of the 4 solutions of the Jammu and Kashmir issue is something which will not be acceptable to the people of India. Joint control between India and Pakistan of the whole Riyasat of Jammu and Kashmir. And therefore, whether we were close or we were very far is something that we'll be able to find out only when all these are disclosed to the Indian public and we find out whether we were close or we were far. To all the literature, all the agreements that exist between our two countries, you have unilaterally declared that Jammu and Kashmir is the core issue. And your High Commissioner in India will recall, there was a discussion organized a few months ago by ICRIER, in which there were Pakistani participation. They invited me to inaugurate that. It was about promoting trade and economic relations between India and Pakistan. So I said we must promote trade and economic relations between India and Pakistan. And what did your High Commissioner go and say there in his valedictory remarks? He said, unless the core issue of Jammu and Kashmir is settled, there is no question of making progress on any other sector of our relationship. So there we are stuck. We are completely stuck. And if the purpose of dialogue between our two countries is to promote more cordial relations between India and Pakistan, but from experience we find that every time we'll come out of the room bloodied, we'll come out of the room frustrated, we'll come out of the room with greater enmity in our hearts than we went in with, then what is the point of such a dialogue? And that is why I have said that India and Pakistan, if they want to promote peace and friendship, should refrain from talking to each other for as long as we both feel that circumstances are in favor of such talks.
This red line that the government has drawn on the Hurriyat conference and the fact that the talks each time collapsed over them. I'm curious to know what changed within the BJP, because the BJP government under Mr. Vajpayee held talks with the Hurriyat conference. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Advani had met the Hurriyat leadership in Delhi. So from that position to now, where the Hurriyat has sort of become this red line, what has changed? What has happened?
A lot has changed in Jammu and Kashmir, and I'm quite sure Mr. Farooq Abdullah will throw light on that. But you know, what you are referring to is our internal dialogue with the Hurriyat. Mr. Advani talked to Hurriyat. When Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, we talked to Hurriyat. We did talk to Hurriyat, because after all, they are our own people, they are our own citizens. So nobody in India will object to our talking to Hurriyat. But we'll certainly object to Pakistan talking to Hurriyat and giving the impression to the rest of the world that Hurriyat alone is the true representative of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and Mr. Farooq Abdullah and people like him who are elected representatives in Jammu and Kashmir don't matter. That is our objection.
As far as Mr. Vajpayee is concerned, I have admitted in the book many times that he started the process, and let me admit publicly what I have stated in the book. We were upset when BJP lost, because we thought we had made a lot of investment in BJP. And when I invited Mr. L.K. Advani, it was also a signal that we recognize the contribution of BJP, and he was kind enough to come there. And in fact, you inaugurated Sir Katas Raj Temple, which is near Rawalpindi. So, and we made sure that that temple was ready for him to inaugurate at that time. Now, the point is, we were therefore moving forward on many channels, not just on Kashmir. So my point is that if we allow that, there is no way, but you cannot say my way or highway. It has to be something that has been agreed on, and it was 1997. I was not a minister then, but I recognize the wisdom of that. Even Yashwant, I remember, I wrote the book, I've quoted him, said there has never been a brighter moment for peace between the two countries. Yes, I'm a born optimist, I agree with you, whatever the reasons. But my optimism rests on certain fundamentals. So I agree with you, but I have a suggestion. I agree that if this sort of talks are going to take place in Pakistan and India, it's much better to appoint back channel. And in fact, back channel, this is my...
Stay away from television.
Sorry?
I would advise you to stay away from the TV cameras.
No, when you are foreign ministers.
Yeah.
I'm not a foreign minister today. So what I'm trying to, if you're referring to my TV appearances, all I'm simply saying is have back channel negotiators, avoid TV like the plague.
Yeah.
And so therefore, when you have a back channel negotiator, Prime Minister Narendra Modi can appoint one. He needn't even announce that he has appointed a back channel negotiator.
India and Pakistan cannot live all the time in a situation of war.
I agree.
I remember Bajpayeeji's words when he came to the border of Pakistan in Jammu and Kashmir, very near Muzaffarabad. And he made a speech there, which many times my Prime Minister has also repeated, that friends can be changed, neighbors cannot be changed. We'll either live with them in friendship or live in animosity, and the progress of the nations will suffer. Our tragedy is we have a vested interest in our ranks, both in this country and in your country, sir. And that vested interest does not want peace to emerge between those two nations. What is wrong? Why can't we honestly say that Kashmir is not for barter? And we don't want your part of Kashmir, you keep it. But can't we live in friendship? Can't we live in understanding? Can't we find a way, like Musharraf said, there's a 4-point formula? I do not know. None of us in India know what happened in Agra.
But is the
None of us in India know, even today, what has ever been decided by President Musharraf, Bajpayeeji, or Manmohan Singh. No one knows.
Even you don't know about the
No, none of us know.
You were a minister in the government.
Let me tell you.
And from the state that is at stake.
Here is my Prime Minister. Certain things were never brought to the cabinet. Never. Whether you meet Hurriyat or you don't meet Hurriyat will make no difference. No difference. Let's come out of those boxes and start thinking, Mr. Kasuri, how do we find way forward by ignoring the vested interest that has developed in the two nations?
I agree.
We are suffering. I remember Begin's words on Washington lawns where President Carter was there. What did he say? He first refused to shake hands with Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, for there was blood on both hands. And he said in that lawn, enough is enough. Enough blood has been shed.
Absolutely.
Let's stop. When are we going to stop the damn killing? Do you know, sir, that both in Pakistan and in India, the young generation is developing hatred by small mistakes you make or big mistakes you made? We suffer. We pay the price. How long do you want us to pay that price? Maybe alive I may not see it, but my soul will see it. How much your country may deny me the visa to go to Pakistan. Let me tell you frankly, you cannot stop my Atma when I die. I need no visa, I need no passport. And I will see your nation. And I will tell every person in that nation that time has come. We either live in happiness and progress together or destroy each other forever. Therefore, my basic request, thank God he didn't come and I got a chance to speak here. Otherwise, I would have been sitting there. Natwar got blood pressure, high blood pressure. ये अल्लाह का करम है, मुबारक हो परवरदिगार तेरा। नहीं तो मैं कहाँ से कसूरी साहब को ये कहानी सुनाता या इनको कहाँ से सुनाता, जो हमसे मिलते भी नहीं है।
वही किताब में लिखा ही है जो
और ईमानदारी से कहते हो, डरते हैं हमसे मिलने से।
आप किताब पढ़िएगा,
पाकिस्तान में शोर ना उड़ जाए कि फारूक अब्दुल्ला से मिल लिए थे।
I keep meeting Pakistanis. I do want to meet Pakistanis who disagree with me. That's difficult to do. But the general impression I get is that there is a vast number of Pakistanis who would like to enter into a viable relationship with India. And that viable relationship with India in Pakistan's eyes, not in my eyes and not in your eyes, but in Pakistan's eyes, it must include what they call a settlement of Kashmir. But if a settlement of Kashmir is going to be based on the recognition that there should be no independence for Jammu Kashmir, if it's going to be based on the recognition that borders cannot be redrawn, if it's going to be based on the recognition that the LOC must be made irrelevant as far as people living on either side is concerned, for God's sake, accept that that was progress. There was progress. And it was progress that was made possible because of persistence. I challenge anyone in this audience to find a period of 3 years in the last 70 years where there was continuous conversation between India and Pakistan. Yashwant refers to several sporadic incidents of speaking between India and Pakistan. Issues are so serious that it's impossible to believe that in 2 or 3 meetings we're going to arrive at a conclusion.
It would not be proper for me to talk on the specifics about the chapter or chapters on Pakistan-India relations in the book, in Mr. Kasuri's book. I think suffice it to say that Pakistan-India relations are again going through a familiar pattern. But I strongly feel that it is together can we make a difference and resume a process that is to our mutual satisfaction. Setting preconditions or cherry picking, you would agree with me, never worked before and nor will that work in future.
One of your passages here, you wrote that a well-known Indian columnist had written that those who equate an essentially peacenik Atal Bihari Vajpayee with Narendra Modi and dream of a repetition of the bonhomie that India and Pakistan witnessed during Mr. Vajpayee's tenure are living in a fool's paradise. But you go on to say that you hope that Narendra Modi is a pragmatist in the ultimate analysis. You talk about his huge mandate as well. Given that mandate, the hope that he would be a pragmatist, the fact that he took the initiative to invite Nawaz Sharif for his swearing in, took the initiative to have this discussion at UFA despite everything. It's still a long road ahead. There's still plenty of time. Do you still have hope given the current state of affairs?
You partly prove my point that what I said is, there are some things about Mr. Modi that every Pakistani knows and every Indian knows. So when he became Prime Minister, from our perspective, he had a baggage. I'll be very honest. But a man who can rise from such humble origins to become the Prime Minister of the largest democracy in the world, that's the way I am. He cannot be without a sense of destiny. There has to be some sense of destiny in a man who has risen to that pedestal. So I can only think of him as I would think of myself. Now, what is the place he can make in history? By continuing with this bickering that's going on? Anybody can do it. That nothing will succeed.
Do you agree on the back channel part, if nothing else?
Nothing.
No, I agree that.
Oh, he agrees on. Thank
I
God we agreed on
no
something.
objection to back channel.
Oh, that's very good.
I have
back
no objection to people contact.
Okay.
But no official level talks until it will lead to positive results.
Are you okay with cricket?
Huh?
Are you okay with cricket?
No, that's people to people. That's people to people.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Khurshid Kasuri, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, Yashwant Sinha, Manishankar Iyer and Abdul Basit. Thank you very much to all of you for coming here tonight. I'm told Mr. Kasuri is working on volume 2 already. Thank you very much.
Thank you.